football game that's going to happen this. And of course, you had a lot to do with the facilities there at Bill Snyder Family Stadium, and I brag about it. It's next to Boone Pickens, which I'm certainly partial to. What they've done one thing, y'all made it too nice of a visitors locker room. It's one of the best visitors locker rooms in America.
It is. Yeah.
So, but anyway, it's good to have both you guys here, and business development and obviously athletic development. And this was my first question in a COVID age, and we're coming out of a COVID pandemic. I saw the headline in the paper yesterday. Even the health officials now are saying numbers are dropping again, which is a great sign, especially considering we're having venues with full crowds. And I think Oklahoma State's done it responsibly. But just a week ago or 2 weeks ago at the Regents meeting, announced that softball is going to get some additions to Cowgirl Stadium, an outfield turf, and a new wall. And then wrestling's going to get a new locker room facility. Football is going to get some advancements in the west end zone, which hadn't really been touched much since it was finished. And Chad, you and your athletic department, and I know you're new to it since July being the head man, but to be able to do some of those projects and raise some funds from some people who care in a time like this, that's pretty darn good for an athletic department at this stage.
Yeah, it is. First of all, let me just say you look great in your Chester Pittman tribute sweatshirt. I don't get to hear you your show every day, but when I do, I never hear a bad one, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh man, they're bad ones. Come on now. Yeah.
And I agree with you. Scott Petty is a dynamo, and known him for a long time, and appreciate him and all that he does and has done in this community for a long time. So one of the all-time good ones. But it's great to be here. It's a beautiful morning in Stillwater, Friday before a game weekend, so we're excited to host the Bears here tomorrow. But no, as far as the facilities, I mean, we are,
it's great.
It starts with the donors. I mean, we can't do anything without the people who are willing to step up and help us make those things possible. And I think you're right. I mean, I think what we saw in some of our most recent conversations around these facilities is donors that not only wanted to have the impact that the facilities would have, but also to send the message of just sort of that resolve as we worked through, like you said, the pandemic and the conference realignment.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
All of those things, I think part of what they wanted to show is just that resolve that, hey, Oklahoma State's going to keep moving forward with all of our programs, regardless of what's going on around us. So, and so very much appreciate all of them.
Yeah, and I know those programs that are, those three in particular. I know John Smith's grateful for everything his program gets. Obviously, we know about football and the importance on that, especially after this realignment. And so anything you do there obviously gets attention. And then, it's almost like that plot of land in Stillwater where Allie Reynolds is and where the softball, it's almost like they took that out of San Francisco near Candlestick Park, because the ground never dries completely. We can be in a drought, and the outfield in Cowgirl Stadium and Allie Reynolds will be wet.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, and part of that is just the those fields have been there for a long time, and clearly technology, if you will, is advanced. Just the way they put new fields in, have all new sophisticated drainage systems.
Because Obrake can drain in 5 minutes after a 5-inch storm.
Yep, that's exactly right. And so we just didn't have that available to us when Allie P. Reynolds and Cowgirl Stadium went in, and so it does cause problems. And that's part of what we're doing with Cowgirl Stadium, is just trying to get it to a place where it's safe and playable as often as it can be.
Several things, and let's just go to realignment, because I think a lot of people are interested. We haven't had a chance to talk to you since the dust has kind of settled for now. Here's one interesting question. I think this is an off-the-wall question. You were thrown into this, you and Dr. Schrum as the new president. Basically, from the day you took office, you were dealing with this, because a lot of people may not know, but our athletic interests and our university president had a heads up on this. They couldn't say anything, but you guys had some information, which was great. You like people who are pretty good. That's what CIA does, and it helps when you get that information. But because you and Dr. Shrum got thrown into this, Kyle Ray was a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Reed, who you brought in,
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Clintworth, because of his exposure around the country. There were a lot of people in kind of a task force where you were
Right.
working every day. But in a strange way, was this a great way for you and Dr. Shrum? Because it put you two in the grind on a very important issue to where you guys have got to be much further down the road with your relationship and working together than you would be if that had not happened.
Yes, I think so. I mean, there's nothing like a good crisis to bring a team together.
That was crisis, yeah.
And,
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, exactly. So it was day 21 for both Dr. Shrum and I when it officially broke.
You
and
guys
as you
knew it was
said,
happening.
yeah, we had some warning signs, so we weren't altogether surprised. Didn't know when or exactly what, but yeah, it was it threw us into lots of time together, and you're always looking for the silver lining and things like that, and that
See,
certainly,
that's what I was doing.
yeah, that certainly was one, and she's been fantastic, just terrific to work with, so supportive. I think just the awareness that this is an institutional issue. It's not just an athletics issue. It has ramifications for the entire institution, for the community of Stillwater, and so for her to get as involved and as active again, 21 days into it as she did was fantastic, and she's done a great job, as her team has, and my team has as well. As you said, lots of people involved with it. It was Reed's day 3, so
Yeah.
he certainly was welcome to the Big 12, and but he's been great as well as the rest of our team.
And the other thing too is I think it showed real quickly. It made you and Dr. Shrum and everybody involved show their hand as leaders. And I think what we saw was that Oklahoma State University and Oklahoma State athletics is in a good hand leadership wise, because leadership kind of brings the best. That good leadership brings the best out in the people around them. And I think that's through that process, and then just what we've seen in the first 90 days or so. I think we've seen that across the board on campus and in the athletics department.
Well, I hope so. Thank you.
That's a compliment. It is. It is.
Yeah, no, and I've been asked, how, about how you work through all of that, and I think the answer for me was you just do. I don't know what the alternative is, right? And there's no manual for that kind of thing, and so you just figure it out. You put the best people around you, you listen, and then try to put the best plan you can together and move forward.
Now, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and Chad, obviously the path that he was in, having worked at OSU Athletics before he went to Kansas State and worked in athletics, before he was at Texas Tech and worked at athletics, and then working with Coach Holder under, his leadership for the last, how many
4
years?
years.
4
Yeah.
years. So, I mean, it wasn't like, this is a whole new world. I mean,
Right.
Chad has been blessed to be working with and in one of the best athletic departments in the country, certainly with some of the best facilities. But it was something that I think you had. It wasn't going to be a shock that now we've got to learn from
Right.
do something new here.
Well, I've been fortunate to be around a lot of good people. Coach Holder, obviously, that you mentioned, but just through the
Well,
my
and when
career,
you were
just
and when you were at Texas Tech, Kirby Hocutt was
Right.
on the CFP committee,
Yep.
and as a deputy, he was involved in so much there. You kind of, to a day to day, a lot of times became the AD.
right. Yep.
That had to be great experience.
Yeah, it was great experience, and he was great about letting me do that. I can remember pretty early on going to him and saying, "Is this?"
What's the
let me
deal?
know if something's not going right. And he goes, "Nope, just keep doing what you're doing." I was like, "Okay."
What a great training ground.
Yeah, it
No.
was. Yeah, it was
And
great.
that's where you two guys have some commonality. You've been in some great situations. We mentioned Stillwater Medical, and then I know before that as well. And then I know you worked closely with Coach Snyder on the projects in
Mhm.
football at Kansas State. Had to be tremendous experience there, and it certainly came out well.
Mhm.
K-State's got tremendous facilities. So,
Mhm.
all right, let's fast forward because this is what the fans want to know. Now that we're at I think a pause. Maybe it'll be the end, but it may just be a pause too, because we know conference realignment. has a habit of coming back again. It's the
Hmm.
story that never
Yep.
ends. How do you feel? How do you feel about the way things landed with the four new schools in the Big 12?
Yeah, I feel really good about where we ended up, and I think there's a lot of really good positive things from it. And one of them is that we, been able to kind of keep our geographic center, if you will, and I think there's a lot of positives to that. I think you've seen models of other things working where the geography gets really, really spread out, and you can make that work for sure as well. But I think just to be able to keep as much of the geography and just the like philosophies, if you will, together, I think is good for now, for however long we can make that last. But to your point, I think what we've learned by now is that I think there's just going to be change. At least that's the premise that I'm going into it with, and the change may not affect us specifically, but there's certainly going to be change going on around us at the very least. And so, yeah, I think you just have to be constantly aware of that and monitoring that as much as possible so that you can be as prepared as possible. I think the one thing that we learned from this is, and was reinforced in this, is Oklahoma State is in a really good position, and that is thanks to the work that's been done here over the last 15 years. And there's a lot of people that deserve a lot of credit for that, starting with Boone Pickens and all the donors that followed to make the facilities what they are. Obviously, Coach Holder and managing all of that process and that vision and putting all of that together and creating the revenue streams and revenue sources that we have to continually operate at the level that we do. But then our coaches, and obviously Coach Gundy, the consistent success that he's had here over the last 15 years, just put us in a really, really good position in this round, if you will, of change. And so now our challenge is, and our opportunity is to make sure that we stay there,
And get
so
even
that
get better.
and get better. And if there is change in the future, then we want to still be in as good a position as we were with this last round.
All right, before we take our first time out, I'll ask the other question. I know that fans, and this is a lightning rod topic, of which I seem to be on the wrong side of it with a lot of our fans, because eventually OU is going to go to the SEC. We know that. A lot of our fans say, well, hey, good riddance. We're not going to play you anymore. I look at the fact that for the Big 12 Conference, that's a prime non-conference football, as well as if you play them in other sports, basketball in
Mm-hmm.
particular. It's still an attractive television piece,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to keep good, attractive TV
Yep.
pieces. And it takes two to tango. They say they want to play, but I'm wondering when it comes down,
Right.
when they go to SEC, how much are they going to want to play Oklahoma State as one of their non-conferences in football? Your thoughts on what? And I know there's no great clear answer right now, but your thoughts on Bedlam.
Well, it was interesting, when we were going through all of the
But you
change
heard
and
from a lot of fans.
I
I
heard from a
did.
lot of people, and the advice that I was getting, the opinions I was getting, was sort of all over the board as it related to where we should go. Stay together or go here or go there or whatever. There was really no consensus on that, but there was one pretty strong consensus, and that was what you just said. Is the vast majority of people said we don't want to, don't play them anymore, and I think that was largely geared towards football. I think when they were saying that, they were
Well,
thinking
we
football.
win all the others.
And so, and I think that is one thing that we will have to look at, is every sport is a little bit different, and how that works is a little bit different. And so to say we're never going to play them again is a very big statement, um, depending on the sport for sure. I think with football specifically, I'm not going to say we're never going to play them in football either. That never is a long time, right? But there are just, I think, as you said, a lot of logistics to work out, so we've got to get into this and see how many conference games they're going to play, how many conference games we're going to play. Once that gets worked out, then we know how many non-conference games we have to play, and then like us, they've got long-term non-conference contracts out there into the future. So do we. So part of it's just going to be logistically, when is even the next opportunity available for us to play, and what does that look like, and how does that work out? So, it's too early to tell all of those things. We don't have enough information yet, and so we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
All right. Fortunately, Chad Weiberg, who is athletic director at Oklahoma State, an Oklahoma State alum, his family is ingrained into Oklahoma State athletics going back, is with us for another segment. So we'll get into that here at Spirit Day at Simmons Bank. Now, I should mention the Cowboys play tomorrow night, 6 o'clock at Boone Pickens Stadium. I think there's still a few tickets available, but you better gobble those up. We're going to be honoring all former Cowboy football players with a reunion, but specifically the 2011 Big 12 champions will be honored at halftime. And I've heard from a lot of those guys. They're coming back. Talked to Colton Shelf on this show the other day. Brandon Whedon's leading the brigade. He's taking a break from broadcasting to be here this weekend. Deon Amati, Clint Shelf, who work with us on the Cowboy Network, they'll be here as well. So it's going to be fun to see Jeremy
Yeah.
Smith, all those guys.
Looking
isn't it?
forward to having them back. Absolutely, it's going to be great. Yeah, we've had great attendance so far. So we do have a few tickets left, but we want to pack Boone Pickens Stadium to welcome them back, support the Cowboys. It sounds like that the weather is going to be absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Perfect fall Saturday night for football. Have some rain, early maybe in the morning, but sounds like it's going to clear out and be gone. So it's going to be a great day for some Cowboy football.
So we've got all that going on. Last night, Stillwater took one on the chin from a very, very good Dell City team, 30-7. But Pioneers are having a good football season as well. And soccer, we're going to talk to Karen here in a little bit. Karen Hancock. Soccer played 66 minutes, had a 1-0 lead, and Lightning got that one, and they needed 4 more minutes for it to become official. So those are some of the sports results. Chad will be back with us, as will Scott, coming back in the next segment. We'll take a time out. It's the 31st annual Spirit Day here at Simmons Bank, which is just one of the best neighbors and best businesses that Stillwater has. So we'll be back here right after this. All right, welcome back. Welcome back to Spirit Day here at Simmons Bank, and got a couple of high-powered guests with us right here. Scott Petty, who's now with Simmons Bank and as a senior vice president for business development, and of course the athletic director at Oklahoma State, Chad Weiberg, and let's get into this.
Let's be honest. He's the high power.
No.
I'm feeling that power source coming heavy from both sides there.
All right, let's go.
All right, how do you? I mean, because the football schedule was front loaded with home games. I mean, for Oklahoma State, this will be home game number 4.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
So you've had 4. And I know I can sense this. The announced numbers, the paid numbers are really good, which that the athletic department, thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate that.
Yes.
It matters a lot.
Absolutely.
But we've kind of seen people, it's kind of whether it's COVID and wanting to be comfortable, whether it's the heat, whether it's, I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe they weren't as excited about Missouri State. I get excited about everybody, but that's just me. But we're tomorrow. I expect to see by far the biggest crowd yet.
I do too, and I think we've seen that. It just is kind of ramped up with each game. And you're right. There's lots of different factors that have gone into the game so far. Opponent or game time with the 11 a.m. kickoff or whatever. But I think this week will be our best yet. And we've had really good crowds, and I want to give a special shout out to our students. They've really shown up so far this year and have done a pretty good job, I think, of even sticking around for the entire game and really into it from the very beginning.
The games have been good.
Yeah, they have been.
They've been exciting.
And we've needed them, to help bring that home field environment advantage to us.
They bring the energy, don't they?
Yeah, and I tell you, that's something that has been a challenge at a bunch of other universities is getting their students to come out and be involved, and that's just something that we've not had. So I appreciate our students and give them a lot of credit, but also all of our fans. I mean, we've got good fans. I think. One of the things that we were wanting to kind of see and watch for coming out of COVID is, definitely the concern over the health aspects of it, I think played a little bit of a role. But just as much as anything, I think is just the habit. We went for a year of people getting into other habits, with what they do.
Watching them on TV.
With their Saturdays in the fall. And so now we need to get them back in the habit of coming to Boone Pickens Stadium and Stillwater for the games. And our staff is they're working very hard to make our game day environment as good as it can be. And I don't know that a lot of our fans have an appreciation for what we have here, because unless you travel and compare to other places, you wouldn't have a comparison. But our stadium is fantastic. We've got more restrooms and point of sale at concession stands between the plaza and mezzanine level to take care of our fans than any college stadium, I think, that I've been to. We've got, we brought in all of these outside vendors to provide choice to our fans, whether it's Chick-fil-A or Freddy's or
Coney Island.
Coney.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I shouldn't start naming
Yeah.
them because
Yeah,
I'm
you
going to
start
leave someone
naming-
out.
Then
But,
you got to name
Well,
them
you
off.
can't
Yeah.
stop. We got so many.
but we do.
Yeah.
I think we've got more than anywhere I've seen in the country, and that was all just to provide, that variety and that choice to our fans. I think we've done a good job of keeping our prices as reasonable as we possibly can. We've got the free water stations. We've got the cool zone and the west end zone where you can sit down under the fans and mist and watch TVs. And so we've done everything. Our staff has done a great job of working really hard to make it as great a game day environment and atmosphere as we possibly can. And that goes, from the time you drive in, the traffic getting in and the parking, and then the traffic getting out as quick as you can. And it takes work. It takes a lot of partnerships with the city of Stillwater and campus, but everybody's really pulled together to try to make that happen and make it as great an environment as we can possibly have. So, and I think it is really, really good. We'll continue to tweak and make improvements, but it's really good. So hopefully we continue to see the fans come back and fill the stadium.
I've got questions I want to get to, but I like to build off some things you're saying. And you were talking about the students. You've got a new seating plan for this year in basketball with Gallagher
Yep.
Iba. What kind of feedback are you getting? Because the students are being rewarded, and
Yes.
it's a centric plan to build the energy off what
Yes.
Scott said. Those students
Yes.
bringing it.
Yep, absolutely, and that's right. And so I give
Probably not as much from some of the ticket holders
Well,
being moved, but
I give a lot of credit to our season ticket holders that got moved. They've been great about it.
They understand it.
Yeah,
They embrace
do.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they've worked
Good.
with us to, we again, our team has done a great job to try to make the moves and make sure that we got everyone taken care of as best we could. And I think we were able to do that, and because they're important to us too. But I think everyone understands what the students bring to us. We were all students once, we were in that arena as students once. So we get that, right? And also just, going back to the home court and advantage that they provide. So, and they've been great. We again go back to, we have a great student section, so you want to reward that. If they're going to be involved, let's let them be as involved as they can possibly be. And so I like what we've done in the arena there. Not only will it provide that impact on the court, but visually I think it's going to be really good too, because that's on the opposite. That's the TV view. So
Right.
when we're on TV, that's what people at home are going to see now, is all those students behind the bench and the scores table over there. So I think that'll be really good. But it isn't just basketball; it's also women's basketball. It's wrestling. So hopefully the students
That's
will
true.
come out and do the same for those sports as well. And we made similar changes to the football stadium. We actually did it last year,
Yeah.
although you couldn't really tell it because it was COVID and we were at 25% capacity or whatever. But we blocked the students into that corner there. They were
all the way up to the front row.
Yep.
And
they were kind of spread out in different directions, and then we put the band right in the middle of them so that the band could kind of provide that heartbeat for that student section. And I think what I've seen so far is that it's worked. I mean, that student section seems to be, rocking and rolling, and that's what you want.
You know what I've noticed from watching on the other side, on the Cowboy bench area, is if you look at the opposing team, unless they're down, way down on that end of the field, their bench area is very empty toward the south end, and it's heavy toward the north end, which tells me that our boosters that have tickets over there are nicer to the visiting team than the students are. They tend to stay away from the students. You might see a few brave souls on the south end, but most of the time you can see the visiting bench likes to migrate the other way.
Shifted south.
Yeah, it's shifted a little.
I hope, that we are hospitable and sportsman-like, as fans. You want to cheer for the Cowboys, but you don't want to, you don't want to be unsportsmanlike.
You don't
So
want to be rude,
don't want to
but
be
you
rude.
don't want necessarily to make them comfortable
Yep.
either.
Yep.
It's
You want people to come here. You want visitors to come here and have a great experience and leave with a loss. I mean, that's the that's the main goal, right?
and so far it's worked so
Yep.
far this
Yep.
season. That's good, and I know you're excited. Yeah, this football team has been fun to watch. The way it's developed, and
Mhm.
here's one thing too. Yeah, I'm not so sure this isn't the best defensive football we've seen since Pat Jones
Yep.
days with guys like Leslie O'Neal, John Washington, Mark Moore. In fact, you guys will love this story. When Daniel Green, the linebacker at K State, they reviewed that targeting and they gave him
Mhm.
a targeting penalty. And
Mhm.
Rob Glass was right in front of me. He turned back to me. He says, "Hey, Robert, how many games do you think Mark Moore would have missed
Yeah.
Oh
with
my gosh.
targeting?" Mark Moore would have spent more time expelled than he would have on the field with targeting.
We've
Yep.
just learned a lot over the
Oh,
years
Yeah.
about
It's
the
changed.
the injuries
Yeah.
that come from that, and it's tough to watch sometimes the timing that it takes to
yeah,
process that, and it
Yeah.
slows down the momentum sometimes in a game. But gosh, those players want to be safe, and
yeah.
the coaches want them to be safe. But
But no,
uh,
you're right.
yeah,
I think that the coaching staff, Coach Gundy, Coach Knowles, everyone has done a really good job this year of making adjustments and doing whatever it takes to win the games. And we know we've had injury issues and we've had all of those things. And I think that's just a sign of a great coaching staff when they can make adjustments and win however it is that you need to win. So,
absolutely.
You were the first one that told me this last spring as we were finishing up the school year for 2021 that every up until I think we were waiting on maybe
yeah,
baseball
yeah,
at the end, but every single team that Oklahoma State fields
yep,
had made postseason last year
yep,
in the COVID era.
yep.
We're off to a start for 21-22, and based on just what you see across the board with all your sports over there, Chad, it looks like they've got a chance of doing that again,
Yes.
which is pretty special.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. For not only did all of them qualify for the NCAA postseason, but for those that NCAA postseason allows for advancement,
Right.
they all advanced at least one round in the postseason. So that is, um, I think that's right. But regardless, it was an incredible feat, and with COVID as a backdrop of all of that, and just you got to remind yourself of all the things that they were going through, especially early in the
Yeah,
year. We
testing
were
and
putting the
yeah,
testing and
yeah,
the quarantining and all of those, contact tracing, all those things into place to see them stay focused and get done what they got done is a testament to a lot of people. Again,
sure.
I've said to our sports medicine staff, our partners at OSU Health Sciences over in Tulsa, but they put a great plan together. Our coaches bought into that plan, and because the coaches brought into the plan, I think the players
The
really
student
bought in.
athletes,
Yeah,
yeah,
they bought into it as well,
yeah.
and it was just, really good to see, and good to see the outcomes of it, and be able to continue to do what we do, which is play. Number one, that was the most important thing. We went into it. How do we play? Because that's why they're here, right? This is their dream. They've gotten here because this has been their dream. But not only play, but to win and be successful, I think, is a testament to a lot of people, and our coaches, our student athletes, for sure. So.
Yeah, and now that you've come out of the conference realignment and you can start focusing on some other things. I know the same thing for Dr. Schrum. I've gotten to be pretty good friends with the first Cowboy, and he said, Robert, Casey has so many plans across
Mm-hmm.
campus to get things done, but she had to throw herself into this realignment thing
Yep.
right off the bat. So
Yep.
you had to do the same, but now
Mm-hmm.
you can start. I'm sure there's other areas of the athletic department that you want to um, you know,
Yep.
propel
Mm-hmm.
and maybe focus in on. What are some of the things on your agenda with athletics in general? I know one of them's got to be economically getting past COVID.
Yes.
Now
Yep.
that we're kind of past, maybe getting past it as just a deterrent to activities, it's still going to have. And I know you've said it wasn't as bad as we thought going in.
Thank goodness, because we
Yeah,
were able to play.
yeah,
When we went in, we didn't know where we're going to get were we going to play? Number one. Well, then when we decided we were going to play, we didn't know how long that would last. Would we get 2 games into it, 3 games into it before things would get shut down again, or whatever it may be? And fortunately, we were able just to keep going, and not just through football season, but basketball season and the rest of the sports. And so every step that we took along the way just made the outlook better than what it could have been. So we were very fortunate there. Still painful. We did a lot of things in the department in terms of cutting budgets and cutting salaries and everything. So our team, our staff, they made personal sacrifices to help us get there, and I appreciate that a great deal. But we were able to get through it better than we anticipated. But it's still real, and again, been working with Dr. Schrum and the administration to mitigate that as best we can, and I appreciate again the partnership that we have with them to do so. And but moving forward, yeah, we've got as we continue to hopefully wind down COVID and get to a place where it's as manageable, I guess, as it's going to get. Scott knows a lot more about this than I
More
do,
than he
but
even wants to
yeah,
know.
I think I think he would tell you that it's not going anywhere. It's just going to be, we're going to have to learn to live with it and manage it as best we can. So we'll continue to do that from our perspective. But then, yeah, there's all kinds of things out there, Robert, that we now we have been and will continue to turn our attention to, with all the changes that are happening in college athletics. Now that we kind of know where we're going with the conference alignment, there's a lot of things we've got to figure out, the details with that. What is the scheduling going to look like for all the sports? Are there, is there divisions? What do those divisions look like? All those things we'll be working on. But then there's name, image, and likeness. There's continuing, the transfer issue. There's the NCAA Constitutional Convention that's coming
Yeah.
up here towards the end of the year.
And who represents the Big 12 there?
Gordon Gee
Okay,
at
from West
West
Virginia.
Virginia is the
Yeah.
president that's on that. Yep.
Okay.
And so the SEC just last week enacted the parts of at least the Alston Supreme Court ruling case, and so the Big 12 is looking at how do we respond to that. And so there's all kinds of things like that that are going on. And in the meantime, we want to just continue to put our programs, our coaches, our student athletes in the best position possible to continue to compete. So whether that's facilities or whatever it is, that's what we're working on.
Name, image, and likeness is one of those, because
Yep.
we saw the National Labor Relations Board say that they
Yep.
thought again, maybe if college athletes, student athletes want to unionize, they're in favor
Yep.
of that now, which is crazy. And then just yesterday, Nike, the former head of Nike, and a bunch of former Nike executives have now formed a group that's going to help Oregon exclusively with
Yep.
NIL. So, Simmons Bank could form a.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go. Simmons Bank is no, but really.
You didn't know you were going to be getting
No.
into that, did you, Scott?
Well,
Notice
he
I'm
sat
being very
down
quiet.
He sat down willingly.
I'm being very
But
quiet.
yeah,
This is
and-
Chad's show.
And I know we have to wrap up, but golly, that's a scary deal, because really right now there's no rules. That's scary.
It is. I think, I've obviously been, in this for 25 years or whatever. So there's been through the years, there's been a lot of change in college athletics. It's part of everything, right? I think there is change. I don't know that there's ever been a period that there's been this much change stacked up at one time. And so it's going to be interesting to see how it all, unfolds and plays out. And, how does Congress or the government get involved with it? I mean, there's just a lot going on right now. And so much like we talked about in with the conference alignment, is we cannot get, too caught up in all of those things. There's going to be some things that are happening that are outside of our control. What we have to continue to focus on is controlling the things that you can control, putting ourselves in the best position to deal with whatever those things are. And it does. It starts with our team in athletics and here on campus. It starts with our coaches, obviously, and then we couldn't do anything without the donors and the fans and the support that we have. So we've got to continue to keep all of that moving and working together.
Well, appreciate you stopping by. I know you're busy,
Thank you for having me.
and we will take a time out, and we've got Karen. We're going to catch up with Karen Hancock on the road, find out just exactly why they couldn't get 4 more minutes in before they called it a night, because that would have given the Cowgirls another win. But appreciate Chad Weiberg, and
Thank you.
Yeah,
go,
Chad,
Thanks,
thank
Scott.
you.
yeah,
thank
go
you, Scott.
go Pokes, and big game
Go
tomorrow
Pokes.
night. Folks, get out there. So we'll take a time out and come back.